Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video here at tablemon. Now, the Champions League Fukuoka just happened this past weekend. It's the first big tournament in Japan that happened since the F regulation format dropped over there. We've had a lot of City League results, but now we have a big tournament. Now, it is best of one, which is unfortunate. There were over 2,600 participants in the tournament, which is a huge amount, and against everyone's predictions, it was a Lugia versus Arceus finals. Now, I have no idea where that comes from. I was seeing results from Japan, and Lugia was doing decent, Arceus was doing decent, but never in a million years did I expect either of those decks to make it all the way to the top. And if you had put money on which A-Spec would make it all the way to the finals and what A-Spec would be the first champion of this new era of the Pokemon TCG, Master Ball would not have been in anyone's guess, other than maybe Chip Ritchie. He did guess on his podcast the other day that Master Ball, I'm pretty sure he was joking, or it sounded like he was joking, but I'm just generally very surprised. And we do have here, the first place list, Lugia Arceus. We're going to take a look at the lists that are available from top 16. There are 11 released as of right now. Now, as we can see, we do have the new Minchino. This new Minchino card, which is all the rage now. And it's honestly a pretty fantastic attacker, right? Its attack, let me open it up. Its attack, special roll, doing 70 damage for each special energy card attached to this Pokemon. So, very powerful attack. 5 energy total means 350 damage. That's a knockout on anything in the format, which is really, really impressive. We do need to make sure we account for double turbo energy. It's only 1 energy, not 2. And it does subtract 20 damage, so I can't wait to see someone make a mistake on a stream match of assuming they have a knockout on, say, a Charizard that has 330 HP, and then they attach the double turbo and 4 other energies, and they do 320. Oh no, that's actually exactly 330. So I don't know. Somewhere down the line, someone's gonna make a mistake, including myself probably. But special roll, a very cool attack, and that's quite literally the only new card in this list other than Master Ball, right? There's no more Professor Burnett, so I had even less expectations for Lugia, but between Great Ball, Master Ball, Jack, and Capturing Aroma, it seems like Lugia V-Star will still be a threat. Now, another big thing going for Lugia is that there's no more Path to a Peak, right? Which is pretty fantastic and should be very clutch to its power and to its viability in this upcoming format. And yeah, I like I've always liked Lugia. Oh, never mind. We do have the brand new Mist Energy. The Mist Energy does prevent all types of attacks from opponent's Pokemon to this Pokemon. So combining that with a V-Guard Energy makes you immune to even Lost Zone, Giratina, V-Star, Star Requiem, and Lost Impact attacks on your Lugia V-Star. So making Lugia a very hefty attacker, making Cinccino immune to something like Sableye, sniping it off. It does have very low HP, so it's gonna get knocked out by anything anyways, but it's an extra way to protect it. And the Snorlax, right? The Snorlax has its own built-in ability, but with the therapeutic energy, it doesn't go to sleep. You have the gift energies for Iono protection, so all around, I think it's a very well-rounded deck for best of one, right? To minimize variance. With the gift energies, the Ionos won't put you out of the game at any point. So pretty nice, pretty nice to see. And so let's take a look at the other decks that did well. Now let's take a look at the second place deck. Let me scroll properly so we can see it. There we go, almost. All right, so there's only one V-Guard energy, okay? Now, Arceus V-Star. I never in a million years expected Arceus V-Star combined with Vulpix V-Star to be a potentially viable, good, powerful deck. It's interesting that there's also 2 Professor Turo and 1 Sharon Scare in this list. as opposed to two Share and Scare. That is honestly very, very strange to me, because you'd be losing a ton of resources with a Professor Turo scenario. You do have one Super Rod, but how are you finding it immediately? And now in terms of new cards, we do have Prime Catcher as the supporter of choice, of course. The ace pick of choice. The Prime Catcher allowing you to do more aggressive plays, allowing you to disrupt with Iono, or play Colress, or you can heal and Ghost in the same turn. You can Judge and Ghost in the same turn, which is always very nice. It's an extra way to switch, which is also cool. And we do have 2 copies of the Mist Energy, once again preventing Arceus from getting taken down by something like Star Requiem, preventing Vulpix from getting taken down by something like Star Requiem, though Giratina can attack the Vulpix anyways. But aside from those 2 cards, we do have the new supporter Eri, where your opponent reveals their hand, you choose up to 2 item cards you find there and discard them. So if your opponent has been holding their Great Catcher in their hand, then you can discard it, or you can discard resources like switching cards, Ultra Balls, recovery cards like Super Rod. You can even discard Mirage Gate from Lost Box decks, so not a bad choice to have as a supporter. A lot of disruption in this list with the 4 boss sorters, the Ionos, the Judge, and the Eri, and then also healing with Professor Turo and Share and Scare. So yeah, pretty cool deck to see the Alolan Vulpix V-Star providing protection against a lot of threats, of course, in the metagame by preventing damage to your Pokemon from Pokemon with abilities. So not too bad of a Pokemon to have. Alolan Vulpix has always had this like niche spot in the metagame, where sometimes the metagame is just really good to counter whatever's relevant, and turns out it was probably a good meta call for this tournament. And just Arceus V-Star in general is a bulky attacker that can do well. And then you have Reina Greninja for that little bit of extra consistency, which is nice. You are playing a lot of energies, 16 energies, so you'll definitely have a few spare. And the energy costs are very permissive, of course. Arceus V-Star being only colorless, and Alolan Vulpix V-Star being 1 water and 2 colorless. Now the V-Star attack for Alolan Vulpix probably not too relevant at all at this point in time, but not a bad option to have just in case. But obviously Starbirth will be the main priority. And yeah, cool deck. Would love to see it in action. I might be reviewing some of the games from the tournament to see if we can catch a glimpse of how this deck did so well and what sort of things it was able to counter as preventing damage from Pokemon that have ability. I mean, just taking a look at the deck that got first place, you would be preventing Snorlax, Arceus, and Lugia from attacking you, but not Cinccino. And of course, Cinccino is just, it 1-hit KOs Arceus V-Star with only 4 energies, sorry. So double Primal Turbo and you're good to go. So not great there. And I can see that's probably, I haven't watched the finals yet, but that's probably what happened. And now, taking a look at the 3rd place deck, apparently there was a lot of stall in this tournament. There we go. Here we can see almost the full deck list. There we go. Quad Snorlax with Chi-Yu tech for extra discarding, probably something necessary for best of 1, just having that extra deck out option with the Jealousy Singe, just discarding the top 2 cards from your opponent's deck once you have them locked, or if they're being too passive or whatnot, or it just accelerates your win condition by 2 turns when they have 2 cards left instead of waiting until they get to 0, and can catch maybe some unsuspecting opponents in the first few rounds of the tournament. Now, other than that, we do have the 3 copies of Eri, and now you have Eri to attack the hand, discarding up to 2 item cards you find there. And now you have Misfortune Sisters, discarding item cards in the deck. So item cards are the least safe they have ever been in the current format. which is really surprising to see. Other than that, the deck does lose Sydney to rotation, but honestly, that's pretty much it. Is that to Cheryl? Yeah, to Cheryl to potentially heal. Wait, Cheryl heals? That can't be right. Cheryl heals damage from evolved Pokemon, right? Cheryl, yeah. Heal damage from each of your... What? That must be a mistake, right? That has to be a mistake. So I don't know what this card is, or what it would be. But there isn't a single evolution Pokemon, so why would you play Cheryl in this deck? So that must be a mistake. I'll try to find the original list after the video and make a comment in the comment section, but that is definitely not it. Regardless of the Cheryl, this deck has everything that you could possibly want from the current format. Snorlax is a pretty strong deck, and Giratina Vista are probably going down in playability overall, which is a good thing for Snorlax. Doesn't have to deal with the Shred and the powerful Giratina Vista attacks. And so in an unknown metagame, you can pry away your opponent's resources. That's going to be really, really cool. And then we have the new Heroescape as the ace spec of choice, allowing you to give your Snorlax an extra 100 HP without the drawback of giving 2 extra prize cards to your opponent, or an extra prize card, sorry, to your opponent, making your Snorlax worth 2. And you also have the possibility to attach it to your Rotom V, or to your Chi-Yu EX, or to your Mimikyu, or to your Pidgeot, to everything, and giving them 100 HP extra. Heroescape does not discriminate, unlike Bravery Charm and unlike the Luxurious Cape. Yeah, Heroescape just makes everyone a hero. So pretty cool deck to see. Surprised there isn't, like, instead of 2 fire energies, I'm also surprised there isn't like 1 fire, 1 energy search, or 1 fire, 1 earthen vessel, just to help with the setup and being able to fetch the energy with Yarvin. But this is the list that did well. Who am I to question it? And so next up we have Charizard. Yeah, this Charizard Bibarel, which has been all the rage since rotation, has been doing better than Pidgeot in Japan, which can make sense given the fact that Bibarel is just a very strong card against Iono and whatnot. Pidgeot is also, of course, a fantastic card, but Bibarel has been more successful. Now, in terms of new cards, this deck does play the new supporter. I forgot the name. The Cryptomaniac's Deciphering, which allows you to choose up to 2 cards, place them at the top of your deck in any order you want, and that combos really nicely with Bibarel. It can be a way you can just put Burgundy Charizard and be able to find it that way, which is really, really nice to see. It doesn't play any Vs that you bench early on, so that means you become a 2-price deck until you want to become a 2-price deck and not before. There's no Rotom or Luminion to help support the deck. And then the Great Catcher is the ace spec of choice, which makes sense, right? A lot has been said about, or there's been a big debate between Maximum Belt and Prime Catcher. Maximum Belt adding 50 damage does fix a lot of the mats that Charizard want to do early on, but in this version of the deck, which is probably going to be just a little bit slower in the beginning, it does make sense for Prime Catcher to be able to be there to combine with Iono, and then you have Bibarel for recovery after that, and you can just take down whatever it is that you need at the right time. And then, of course, the 4 Body Puffin. The 4 Body Puffin with no Rotom, with no Luminions. These are useful the whole game, and the only Pokemon they cannot fetch is that Radiant Charizard. Everything else has 70 HP or less, therefore you can burn them or play them at any point and make sure your bench is always full and healthy, with Manaphy and Jirachi protecting it all the time. And even has Skwovet to combine with Bibarel to draw those extra cards. So very nice to see. Along with the Technical Machine evolution, I would love to see a 4th Arven because of the Technical Machine evolution. I know it's not likely. You also run a low amount of energies, but I think it would still be something good to just try to maximize its use that way. And so, next up we have the 7th place Arceus Giratina, another deck that has been receiving a lot more hype and seems a lot more relevant as of late in the format, with Giratina V-Star going down in play, and then the deck gaining not only Iron Leaves EX to be able to take down Charizard much more easily and much more decidedly, having the Rapid Vernier ability to where you can bench the Pokemon, absorb the energy, and immediately make yourself active, but also the Prismatic Edge, which just does 180, and you can't attack next turn, but 180 turns out is the perfect number to one-hit KO Charizard EX. Now, Maximum Belt in here to help with the damage that Arceus does in the beginning. Minus 20 from double turbo brings you to 180, but then plus 50 brings you to 230, which is the magical number to deal with all these new future and ancient Pokemon that are coming out, except Raging Bolt. And then we also have copies of Airy and Grabber, so you're taking away items and taking away Pokemon from your opponent's hand, which so seems like we're gonna try and be as disruptive as we can, with the deck, which seems like a pretty cool concept, and clearly it has been effective in rotation. Next up, we have another Snorlax stall deck with a few extra attacks this time around. Has the Mowile to help trap things along with the Snorlax, and also has the Mantine, which now that Equincorn has rotated, Mantine's attack allows you to be able to get a Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile or your own and place it on the bench. Now, of course, we're going to be choosing our opponent's Pokemon, and then they're going to be knocking out the Mantine, and then you go trap it, and hopefully that's going to be the game. No Cheryl in this list, which is good, right? Cheryl has no business being in this deck. We also have the new escape board, essentially. Let me tell you, I think it's called Emergency Board. It is Emergency Board, where the retreat cost of the Pokemon this card is attached to is called less, and if that Pokemon has 30 HP or less remaining, it has no retreat cost instead. So we're just trying to have that sort of pivot for the Rotom, for the Pidgeot, for the Chiju, for even the Mantine, whatever it is, to be able to retreat it. Sometimes it might even help retreat the Snorlax if it got hit for 120, 130, or 140. Very unlikely. Weird choice, honestly, because we have Bravery Charm and Defiance Vest to compete with in terms of tool cards, and not sure what you're really retreating to each and every turn, but or in an emergency, right? But it is in the list. And then Heroescape, of course, to increase the HP of all your Pokemon and be able to make sure you can survive even more hits. And then Airy, of course, combined with Misfortune Sisters to attack your opponent's item cards no matter where they are. So pretty similar list, some unique things about it as well, but Snorlax seems like it's gonna have a big presence in this new metagame. Then we have Giratina, Lost on Box, still alive, still kicking. The Body Puffins, of course, only help you in establishing your low HP Pokemon, which in this case are Comfey, Sableye, Cramorant, and Manaphy. Sorry, not even Cramorant. Oh, never mind. Not Cramorant and not Sableye. Just Manaphy's and Comfey. So that's why you don't see a high count of Body Puffin and just a focus on Nest Balls. Now the deck is including the Iron Leaves EX, does play a high count of Grass Energy. Now we're seeing 4 Grass, 3 Psychic, as opposed to the 4 Psychic, 3 Grass from before, because you need to deal with Charizard EX a little bit easier now that there's no path to a peak to try and slow down the deck, along with applying pressure. So important to note of that. Nothing else has really changed. The emergency board is pretty nice for the Comfey to have that extra retreat. Eases up a little bit the pressure on the switch cards and the jet energies, which is fantastic. Also has the prime catcher. I think I've been calling it great catcher. The prime catcher to be able to Goss something along with Roxanne or Iono, which is fantastic. No Pokegear, which has been the standard as of late for Giratina V-Star. I'm actually really surprised there isn't that here. And another funny card to note is the Force Seal Stone sometimes you'll want to use that for consistency purposes instead of the Star Requiem. But I insist that that would probably be better off as a Pokegear. Having 2 or 3 Pokegears in this deck would definitely will give you a lot more room for consistency without using your Vistar and saving that Star Requiem, that very important Star Requiem, for any of the threats that you are going up against. Now, next up we have this Great Tusk deck, this Great Tusk mill deck, which is really one of the most interesting and fully new concepts from to come out from Temporal Forces in the new set. Great Tusk, ground collapse, discarding the top card of your opponent's deck, and if you played an ancient supporter card from your hand during this turn, you discard 3 more cards. Now, we are of course all familiar now with Professor Sada's Vitality, which is very vital to a lot of decks, but now we have the new Explorer's Guidance, where you look at the top 6 cards of your deck and you put 2 of them into your hand and you discard the other cards. So this effect is something that we have seen before a lot of the time, or in many other eras of the game. This is finally back, and it is an ancient supporter, which allows you to use that, find the pieces that you need for a Great Tusk, keep digging, and keep discarding 4 cards at a time. Similar to the Durant mill decks that we have seen before. And then this deck also plays Airy to attack an opponent's hand's item cards, take away switching cards so you can trap something, perhaps. Like any time your Great Tusk survives and mills 8 cards, that's just gonna be insane to see. Then we have a copy of Comfey and the emergency board to be able to promote that every time your Great Tusk gets KO'd, and then you have access to an extra card. You also have Mimikyu, and you can potentially attack with Mimikyu since we are running Psychic Energies in the deck, which is really cool to see. You can also end up attacking with Great Tusk if you end up using Professor Sada's Vitality enough or whatnot with the Giant Fangs attack. You never know when that could be relevant. And then we have the Hero Escape to give your Great Tusk even more HP, make it harder to take down. 140 HP on a basic single prizer is already a lot. Making it 240 is a big deal. And then you have the Ancient Booster Energy Capsule to increase its HP as well. Double Pal Pad to make sure that we are filling up our deck with those Ancient Supporters so that we can mill 4 cards each and every turn as much as possible. And then the Pidgeot V to make sure that we don't deck ourselves out. Very surprised that there is a copy of Pidgeot V, but there isn't a Forest Seal Stone. Like, you're running that already. Why wouldn't you play that card over a copy of Trekking Shoes? That is beyond me, but this is a deck that did well, and I think we're gonna be hearing a lot of people complain about Great Tusk milling strategies in the future. And then we have another Charizard deck, this one with Pidgeot and a more standardized version similar to what we are seeing in our current metagame and modified and standard format rather, with the Rotom, with Illuminion, with the Pidgeot, the Radiant Charizard. No Mew, of course. Mew has now rotated. We do have the Quad Puffin in here as new cards, and Hero Escape to have a 430 HP Charizard, which is a lot. Trust me, it is a lot of HP, but not impossible for some decks to bypass. Iron Leaves EX, so will not be able to 1KO a Charizard EX that has a Hero Escape attached. So I wonder how often that actually comes up. Probably not often enough to justify that over the Prime Catcher or even the Maximum Belt, but this is the version that we are seeing at the top in Japan. And then to end things out, a Lost Zone box. Now this is probably the deck that is the closest to some of the decks that we are seeing do well as of late, which is interesting. There's an Iron Bundle as well there, which is also very interesting to see. There's no more Escape Rope, right? So you do get that sort of effect with the Iron Bundle, and then you discard it, so it's fine. And then new cards we are seeing in the list, the Body Puffins, of course, which can help find the Comface and the Manaphy's, but they're not as great for everything else that you need. We definitely need that for Nest Ball reach in the deck. And then we have Prime Catcher as our ace pick of choice. I don't think we'll ever see anything differently in this sort of decks. Master Ball is not good enough. Hero Escape, you don't need that much extra HP. You know your Pokemon are gonna go down very quickly and you have no way to search for it. And then Nothing else is really relevant for the deck. And we have the emergency board similar to Air Balloon that we used to have for Comphase and whatnot. Now we have that emergency board giving your Comphase free retreat and allowing you to switch in and out easily after a KO, which is pretty nice without having the need to find a pivot. And no more escape rope does mean we need to now play switch as a way to be able to retreat and use more flower selecting. There's a crisis punch as well, this technical machine that is also very useful and can allow you to finish off a game with a Cramorant. I would love to see a second copy of the Cramorant, probably over the Iron Bundle, or I would love to see a Bossasaurus as well over the Iron Bundle. Not sure about that, but this is a deck that got top 16. Obviously, it was good enough to do well over multiple rounds, and I fully expect Lost Box to have an important presence in the upcoming metagame as it develops. And important to note, this is the first tournament that has happened in Japan, and usually metas continue to develop, especially taking this as a base. But if you are preparing for UIC, if you are thinking ahead about that or Orlando regionals, a lot of the lists, and this will mark, like a lot of these lists will be solid starting points to base your testing on and to really try to make educated guesses on what to expect on your opponent's side of the field once they flip over their basic Pokemon and you know what you are playing against. So pretty cool to see all these decks and finally have some good results. If you'd like me to review some of the matches that were on stream, I started watching some, and the level of misplays that I was seeing made it really hard to watch. I could also point out a lot of the misplays that were happening, that were actively happening during the games, which is very interesting to see, because people had really good records and they were misplaying left and right from what I could see from day one. I hadn't watched anything in day two. But yeah, let me know what else you would like to see from post-rotation. I do plan on playing more as I'm preparing for Vancouver regionals in a month. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.